It's a great day whenever we wake up and we know that a Republican is coming to the City Club of Chicago. All right. There are two parties in Illinois, okay? And this guy's going to prove it to you. All right, Tim Schneider has dedicated his public service to strengthening Illinois families and Cook County by demanding government performance and finding ways to cut taxes and to spend less whenever possible and to fight corruption wherever he finds it. This all started up in Hanover Township in the extreme northwest end of our loved county, and he's also worked obviously now at the statewide level. He's a small business owner, he's an entrepreneur. This is his first visit here, but he's serving his second term at the Cook County Board of Commissioners. One of his early fights, I know in conjunction with many of his colleagues, several of his colleagues, he held listening sessions to find out just how much people disliked former Cook County Board President Todd Stroger's extra sales tax, and then led the charge to repeal the sales tax. A guy who made a promise and kept it. Give him a round of applause. The Tribune likes him too. They call him a strong and absolutely unwavering voice for streamlining county government and an extraordinary member of a board that could use many more like him. That's why we're proud to present him to you today. Ladies and gentlemen, a City Club welcome for the Illinois Republican Chairman, Tim Schneider! Woo! Come on!
Get going!
Woo! Woo! Well, Chris, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here before you today. A shout out to my colleagues on the county board, John and Liz and Pete, thank you for being here. Shout out to my predecessors, the fine chairman, Jack Dorgan and Pat Brady, thank you for being here. Richard Porter's here, my Republican National Committeeman. Richard, everybody should get to know him. Richard's a wonderful guy. He makes me look good every day as we try and twist arms going to people's offices and trying to raise money for the Republican Party, and we're doing a pretty good job, aren't we, Richard? Thanks to you. I think we're batting 1,000 so far in going out and visiting people. And a shout out to my fraternity brothers of Sigma Chi's from Illinois. Thanks for being here today. Appreciate it. Thank you. So I'd like to start out by telling you a little bit about me. As Chris said, I'm a small business owner. I come from a fairly large family of 5 boys and 1 girl. I have a mirror identical twin, so if things don't go well today, I was not here. It was actually my brother Tom. So, but I've had a passion for fighting for what's right in government and for stopping waste in government, and especially in many cases how government officials treat people in the general public. I tell you that because when I was a young man growing up, I used to watch my father, who was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, have to pay county inspectors to leave the building at our small business because they wanted $50 or $100 every time they came out, and I watched that happen. I also saw firsthand, when I was 26, I built my first home. I general contracted my first house in unincorporated Cook County, and what I saw was amazing. I walked into the building and zoning department at Cook County. I had my 4 sets of plans. I had my 5 sets of septic drawings. I had my 6 plats of surveys. I had my plumbing isometrics. I had my electrical drawings, and I had my permit application. And I had them all rolled up, and I laid them on the counter at building and zoning, and laid them down. And 5 minutes later, somebody came over and said, "What do you got there?" And I said, "Well, I'm applying for a building permit." And he said, "Well, I can't stand here waiting for you to unroll those things. Unroll them and get everything unrolled, and I'll be back." So about 50 minutes later, this gentleman came back, and I had everything laid out for him. And then after looking at it for about 2 minutes, he came back and said, "Well, your plat of survey says parts of lot 6 and 7, and because you used the symbol and instead of the word and, that's not acceptable. Take it back and have your surveyor change the whole plat of survey." Okay, so I went back, came back a few days later, This time I was ready. I laid everything out on the counter, everything out, all my plats and all the surveys and all the building plans, all laid out for him. And it was a counter about 15, 20 feet wide. And he stood down at one end, and I had everything laid out. He said, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, I'm here with my building plans." He said, "I'd like you to take a look at it. I got it all laid out for you." He said, "I'm down here. Roll them all back up, bring them down here, and roll them out for me." So that's the kind of, and I had to return to that office 8 more times before I got my building permit for my house. And I said, nobody in this world should be treated that way. And that's why we have to change. That's what made me want to change government. So I said, someday if I have an opportunity to run for public office, that's what I'm going to do. So in 2006, I decided to run for the Cook County Board, and I was successful in beating a 32-year incumbent on the Cook County Board. And since that time, we've done some pretty good things at the county. We've ended the Stroger era in Cook County, and we've started a new era of transparency and accountability in Cook County. We stopped the Stroger sales tax. When have you ever seen a tax that was enacted that was supposed to be permanent actually be completely repealed? We were able to do that. We were able to explain to Republicans, Democrats, people throughout Cook County that that was hurting our county, and we were able to repeal that. And one thing I think I've been good at, I've been able to work well with my colleagues on the county board, both Democrats and Republicans alike. I have good friends in John Fritchie and Bridget Gaynor and Larry Suffredin and many of the Democrats on the board, and also a great relationship with my fellow Republicans. And I honor that, and I keep that very, very close and really appreciate it. On the county board, we're making good strides. We're doing some really good things, but we've got a long way to go. You know, the ship's turned a little bit, but we've got a long way to go. We've got a big investment in our health and hospital system, and Dr. Shannon is an able and capable and wonderful CEO of our health and hospital system, but with the changes in Obamacare, we've really got to monitor that very closely. So all hail to you, because this is a big job, big job. So now I'm the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party. And people often ask me, they go, "Well, what's the difference between Republicans and Democrats? You know, you're Republican, you know." Well, I think I'll give you a little illustration. Barack Obama was out walking, jogging around the White House one day, and he traveled down Pennsylvania Avenue, and he saw a box on the side of the road. He walked over, and a little boy had a box, and he said, "Hey, little boy, what's in the box?" He says, "Puppies." "Oh, that's so cute." He said, "What kind of puppies are they?" "Well, they're Democrat puppies." "Oh, I'm amazed. That's fantastic. I can't believe that. You just made my whole day." So he goes jogging away. About a week later, he's out jogging. He's got Joe Biden with him. And they're walking and jogging, and they get to the little boy on Pennsylvania Avenue with a box. And they say, "Hey, come on over, Joe, take a look at this." "Hey, little boy, what's in the box?" "Hey, puppies." He said, "What kind of puppies are they?" He said, "They're Republican puppies." "What?" I said, "Last week you said they were Democrat puppies." He said, "Yeah, but now they've got their eyes open." So actually, I do want to tell you that Democrats are really good at one thing, and that's winning elections. Because after primaries, Democrats come together. And so when I became state party chairman, after hearing another story, I heard when I was at my golf course about 4 months ago, 2 guys were arguing at the bar. They said, I walked up to him, I said, "What are you guys arguing about?" He said, "We're arguing about politics." "Ah," I said, "I know a little bit about politics. Are you members of any organized political party?" And the guy says, No, we're Illinois Republicans." So I said at that time, it's time for us to get together, everybody work together towards one goal, have a clear conscience of what our issues are, and work together. And I think for the first time in a very long time, the Illinois Republican Party is really, really running on the same engine, and we're all working together. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with what we see in Illinois this year. And we see the House Republican organization, the state Republican, the Senate Republican organization, the state party, and our individual elected officials running for office, running on the same engine. And we see candidacies, the Overweiss campaign working with the Rauner campaign, and all of us working together. And that's why we're going to see, I believe, some really remarkable things happen in November. The energy in the state party is just incredible. I don't know if any of you were at the state fair, but for the first time in maybe 2 decades, we had 1,400 people come out to the state fair. Now, Bernie Schoenberg said it might have been because I had pulled pork sandwiches instead of hot dogs that day, but I really think it was because of the energy that we have in the party for our candidates and for change in Illinois. I've been fortunate enough to be travel around on the bus tour with Bruce and Evelyn on several occasions, as well as I was recently on a bus tour with the Illinois Federation of Republican Women. It's remarkable, the turnout that we see. I was in Moline, and 60 people out in the rain to watch Mike Webster and Paul Schimpf and Evelyn and Tom Cross. It was remarkable. These people wanted to hear our message and what we had to say about how we're going to turn the state of Illinois around. Throughout the entire state, I've been to towns I'd never even heard of. Glasgow, we did a parade in Glasgow. Bruce got out of the car in a parade in Glasgow. There were 450 people in this entire town, and I think 400 of them came out for the parade. And he shook every hand in that whole town. I mean, these people are coming out wherever we go, whether it's Peoria, Kankakee, Murfreesboro, Du Quoin, Waterloo, wherever we go. Tons and tons of people are coming out to see what we have to say and talk to Bruce and the candidates. And it's not just here in Illinois. I was at a state party fly-in in Raleigh, North Carolina about 6 weeks ago, and it was just amazing. I don't know what's going on in Louisiana, Kentucky, Maine, New Hampshire, Montana, North Dakota, but everybody, all 40 state chairmen that flew in for that meeting knew everything about what was going on in Illinois. Illinois was at the top of their tick. Every one of them said, how's that candidate doing that's running for governor? We think he's great, and we think he's going to win. So do I, by the way. The RNC, I've met 4 times. I've had dinner twice and been to Washington twice with Reince Priebus. Reince and the RNC are all in on Illinois. Now, usually that's a state that they don't want anything to do with, but they're all in this year. And the Republican Governors Association is all in Illinois. We've seen, I've been to lunches with Jeb Bush has been in town. Governor Christie's been in town several times. Many of the governors from all over the country are in town to support Bruce. Now, why is that? Why is it that people are so excited about what's going on in Illinois? It's because of the failed policies and the broken promises of the Quinn administration. There's a little girl in southern Illinois who went to bed one night. She said, hey, Daddy, do all fairy tales start with once upon a time? And her daddy said, no, in Illinois, fairy tales start with if elected, I promise. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing nothing but a record of failed policies and broken promises. Republicans didn't say that they were going to raise your taxes 67% and pay down our bills and fix our structural deficit and make that tax temporary. Governor Quinn did. He said that, and he's broken his word. 67% increase in income tax. If you're a $50,000 home wage earner, he just took $1,000, $1,000 out of your pocket. That's amazing. And what has he done with it? He hasn't paid down the bills. He hasn't fixed our structural deficit. And we still have $4 billion in unpaid bills. And the numbers don't lie. Illinois is the furthest state away from a full job recovery of any state in the nation in terms of jobs. We're still 157,000 jobs below where we were prior to the recession, the furthest away of any state. Compare that to Iowa, which actually has more jobs already than it did before the recession. And Minnesota has 75,000 more jobs than it did before the recession. But Illinois is down 157,000 jobs. It's going to take a long time under this governor to get those 157,000 jobs back. At Quinn's average rate of growth since the time he's been governor of Illinois, it will be another 26 years before we get the jobs back that we had prior to the recession. I'll be 84 years old. I can't wait that long. 6.5 terms before we get back to that level, just where we were before the recession. Our labor force is shedding people as well. In the last 3 months, Illinois' labor force has lost 57,000 jobs. That's the worst 3-month stretch in Illinois in the last 10 years. Now that's being spun by our governor as good news, because when the labor force shrinks, then the unemployment rate goes down as well. And our neighbors are outpacing us as well. Indiana's labor force has grown by nearly 50,000 since the start of the year, while Illinois is down even more than that. Just last week, Cranes reported that Illinois was 49th out of 50 states in overall pro-business status. We were given a D by Cranes in 2010. Last week, they gave us an F. Earlier this year, a CEO magazine survey put us at 48th, and Forbes magazine also lists us near the bottom as well. And that's not just limited to jobs. We have the worst credit rating of any state in the nation, and 13 downgrades under the current governor. We've got broken budgets, second highest property taxes in the nation, and the list goes on and on. We can do better. So what are the Illinois GOP priorities? We've got an opportunity to really make a difference here in Illinois, and we're going to make a difference because this is what we stand for. Lower taxes, less wasteful spending, a booming economy, term limits, and a quality education for our kids. That's what we stand for. Lower taxes, because we cannot tax our way to prosperity. When these businesses and jobs leave the state, it leaves the rest of the people in this room to pay more. And as more and more people leave and the pie gets smaller, we're all paying a lot more. You cannot tax your way to prosperity. Less wasteful spending, the Neighborhood Recovery Initiative, the IDOT scandal. I don't need to say anymore. A booming economy, that's what we really need in Illinois, is a booming economy. We need jobs. That's what people want. People want jobs, and jobs are leaving the state every day. A quality education for our kids. That's what we need in Illinois, because we know that's a pathway to a better life, and we need more vocational training for our kids in our junior colleges. We don't have enough, we have jobs. We have 100,000 manufacturing jobs waiting for people to avail themselves of them, but they're not trained well enough to take them. We need to expand our vocational training in Illinois, and term limits, because we need citizen legislators. We don't need career politicians. We've seen enough career politicians and what they've done in the last decade to ruin this state. So once again, we stand for lower taxes, less wasteful spending, a booming economy, term limits, and a quality education for your kids. And you know what? That message transcends gender, because women want that just as much as men. This isn't about a war on women, and women care about this and women care about that. Women care about the same things we all care about. And it transcends ethnicity, because African Americans, Latino Americans, Indian Americans, we all care about the same thing. We want a great quality education for our kids. We want a little money in our pockets so we can put bread and food on the table. So I said before that I think we're having a pretty good season of election. I want to go through some of the highlights of what we've seen in the state so far, but I'm going to highlight what I think is some real success that we're having in some of our congressional races this year. We've got some remarkable congressional candidates. We have Bob Dole running up north. We've got Bobby Schilling out west. We've got Darlene Sanger and Mike Bost, all in competition against incumbents, and they're all doing remarkably well. They're either at 50-50 with their opponent, or they're surging ahead. And we're seeing great energy for Republicans throughout the state, because the state is broken, okay? I'm going to say that about 100 times. The state is broken, we need change, and we need reform. And these people, these new Republicans that are going to run, are quality people, and they're going to transform the state. We also have Rodney Davis in Southern Illinois. Now, Rodney was supposed to, the Sherry Bustos was, she's running against Ann Callis. There was supposed to be a very tight race. Well, right now, Rodney Davis is up 19 points because he's delivering the right message and delivering what people want in his district. And you know what? We've got a guy in the room. Where's Vince Colber? Vince Colber, right there. Vince Colber. Vince Colber's running for Congress. Vince found out there was nobody running against Mike Quigley in his district, a former colleague of mine on the county board. But Vince found out nobody's running. Vince said, we can't leave that seat open. So Vince stuck his neck out and decided to run for that that seat, and I commend Vince for all the work that he's doing and a wonderful job he's doing trying to get the votes up and get a victory for him in that tough-to-win district. Keep up the good work, Vince. And we've got Larry Cafish out in the western suburbs also running against Tammy Duckworth, working his butt off. You know, Lieutenant Colonel in the Marine Corps, a great guy with a great message. He's doing great things. And we've also got Dick Durbin shaking a little bit, I think, in this election. I think Dick Durbin's a little bit concerned about the surge of Republicans in Illinois. And, you know, we might see something pretty remarkable happen there. And we're also going to definitely, I'm going to tell you, I'll predict that we definitely get out of super minority status in the House. I think we're going to take a number of seats in the House this year. And in the Senate, we're going to pick up a couple seats. We'll still be in the super minority, but I think we'll get out from under this super minority in the House this year. The GOP, Illinois GOP, is investing in tools to win. We're using the very latest technology with the RNC, and we've bridged the technology gap. You know, they said we were always behind Obama in the technology gap. I've been to Washington. I've seen the RNC offices and their geek squad there. It's incredible, and we've bridged that gap. In fact, I think we've surged beyond what the Democrats have done in technology with our Advantage app and several of the things that have been brought to bear by the RNC for our party. So I want to talk just a little bit to you about my favorite subject right now, and that's Bruce Rauner. It's really rare that you get to see remarkable men run for public office in this day and age, because it's when you see all the attacks that happen, it's really hard to find good quality candidates that run for office. In fact, I think there's only one thing that Pat Quinn likes more than attacking Bruce Rauner, and that's raising your taxes. But I think that Bruce is a truly incredible guy, and he needs to do more of not hiding his success. This is a remarkably successful man who wants to bring the success to Springfield and show Illinois how great it can really be. He cares about jobs. He cares about good schools and a better Illinois for everyone. He's got a lifetime of personal generosity and investment in Illinois. This didn't just start because he wanted to run for governor. This guy's been investing in Illinois for decades. He's built schools, charter schools. He's built a YMCA in Little Village. He built Chicago's Regional Red Cross Center. He's funded scholarships, and he's led through actions and his resources, not just words. I've watched him travel. As I said, I've been on the bus tour with Bruce on many occasions. And our first bus trip, we got up about 3:30 in the morning and drove down to Mount Vernon about 7:15 and went to a Waffle House in Mount Vernon. And there were about 35 people at the Waffle House in Mount Vernon. And then we went to Nashville, Oakville, DuQuoin, Percy, Sparta, Chester, Waterloo, and Bloomington, all on our first day. Bruce gave 12 speeches in that day in 10 different cities. And when he wasn't, we didn't even talk that whole day, because when he was on the bus, all he did was make fundraising calls and radio and newspaper interviews. It was remarkable. When we got back to the hotel at night, neither one of us had had lunch or dinner. All he asked his staff it was about 10 o'clock at night. He said, "What time do we get up in the morning?" And we did it again the next day, and I've been with him probably 7 or 8 days. And it's always, in the last bus tour I was with, we did 28 cities in 3 days. The guy doesn't stop because he knows what we can do to change Illinois. He is the real deal. You know, some people, Bruce is the type of person that cares more about the next generation than the next election. Teddy Roosevelt said, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And Bruce Rauner's the type of person that knows what to do to bring back Illinois. And he also cares so deeply about those who are less fortunate and struggling families in Illinois. So, in closing, I want to tell you, join me, stay with me, rise up. This state is in really dire straits. We've got a stronger, more unified Republican Party than we've seen in decades. Now, some of you on the other side of the aisle in this audience might be a little upset with what I've had to say, and don't believe everything I've said, but it's all factual. But I'm passionate about this state, and I'm passionate that we need change, and that this state is failing the people of Illinois. We need a new direction. But if you don't think we need a new direction, have at it, you know? Go into that polling place and vote for Pat Quinn and Mike Madigan and the status quo, and that's what we'll get for the next 4 years, is the status quo. But if you really want to change the state, if you want to go out of state and have people ask you where you're from, and you won't have to say I'm from Illinois, you know, because that's what I do. I'm from Illinois, you know. I'm embarrassed to tell people where I'm from, because this state should be the capital of the Midwest. We should be the engine, the locomotive of growth in the Midwest, and we're not. We can do better. So everybody, Republican, Democrat, Independent, join me. Shake up Springfield. Let's bring back Illinois. Thank you.
All right, question time. Questions, there are these little sheets on your tables, and we got City Club people, so just hand them in. They will send them up. Tim, thank you very much for those remarks. I've got, let's see, City Club member Michael Casa, Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation. In recent years, Chairman, the Democrats have had a strong fundraising and social media strategy. What is the state Republican Party doing to enhance efforts in these areas?
Well, what you're seeing from the state party, the biggest job of the state party, our Get Out the Vote campaign is the biggest thing that we're doing. We've probably mailed everybody in the state of Illinois that's going to be hopefully our voter once, twice, 3 times already. It's been a massive effort. So when it comes to the social media, most of that's done by the House Republican organization, the individual candidacies. So we don't get that involved in that. Our big job is to Get Out the Vote campaign and identifying who our voters are and getting them to the polls in November.
Terrific. Carlos Ponce, City Club member, asks, please, Chairman, how are you reaching out to the Hispanic and Black communities? Do you think that Bruce Rauner will get the percentage of vote that he needs to win out of Chicago and Cook County?
Yes, Bruce will. Bruce has been delivering messages in 2 to 4 Hispanic or African American churches every Sunday for the last several months. He's getting his message out. In fact, what he likes to say is he'll get questions. Somebody in the back of the room will say, hey, you know what? I really like your message. I like what you have to say, but I've been voting Democrat my whole life. So, you know, what do you say to that? And Bruce just says, well, how's that working out for you? You know, is that working out for you? I mean, do you have a better life than you had before? I don't think so. So they're coming his way. You've seen a number of African-American ministers, Latino Americans that are supporting Bruce, and you know that Jim Oberweis has gathered a number of endorsements. We've never seen that's unprecedented. The Republican Party does need to do a better job of going into those communities and engaging African-American, Latinos, Indian Americans, because those are our voters. And we've in many cases ignored them. They care about lower taxes, less wasteful spending, a booming economy, term limits, and a quality education. That's what they stand for, and that's what we stand for. So they're our voters, and we need to engage them, and we need to get them to vote for our candidates. But we are actively. I've been in this job for about 4 months now. My predecessors did a great job, but we need a better effort in going into these communities. But our candidates are engaging those communities, and I think we are going to see the vote. We won't have the 18-19% vote come out of Cook County that we saw. I think we're out of city of Chicago. I think we'll have that 23% vote that we need, 25%, and then we can work to build that further in the future.
Terrific. Now, this is related, so I'm going to focus on the parts that you haven't addressed yet. From Akila Davis, City Club member, and says affiliation, Republican and small business owner, and asks the same question about substantive outreach to folks, to people of color, African Americans, Hispanics, etc., and then goes on to say, we consistently lose races because we lose the popular vote, and it's near impossible to win that without more outreach. But she includes now low-income people, women, and other constituencies that Republicans may have ignored in the past. So maybe a little expanded.
Well, I think I'd say the same thing. I think it's true that Democrats have taken many of their the African American community, the Latino community, they've been taking them for granted. And I think they're going to find that many of those people are going to listen to our message and vote for Bruce and Republicans up and down the ticket, Jim Oberweis, Vince Colbert. I think you're going to see that this year. But we really need to engage them more because, as I said, they are our voters. They are voters. They care about the same things that we care about. We just need to engage them. We need to have people. We can't just, as Reince Priebus says, we can't just every 4 years roll up a Winnebago to the state of Illinois 4 months before the election and expect us to get great results. We need to be engaged every day in those neighborhoods and have people engaging with these people on a day-to-day basis so they can gather trust and understand these people. When they deliver a message to them, they're engaged and they know that they're looking out for their community.
Terrific. City Club member Paul LaLiberte from Wunderlich Securities asks, what are your thoughts on the radically gerrymandered districts in Illinois and the Fair Map or Fair Maps amendment?
Well, I'll just tell you what I think personally. I think we need an entire rethinking process in drawing our maps. All we're doing in Illinois is creating more further right districts and more further left districts, which create an environment for no one to ever compromise anymore. In fact, if you compromise, you get somebody to run against you in your own district. So there's no reason to seek compromise. I've only been in elected office for 8 years, but I'll tell you, it's not wrong to compromise, and because that's part of team building. It's part of you can't just because you didn't get 100% of something doesn't mean that you gave in if you got 80% of what you wanted. So yeah, I think we need to completely reorganize the map process, because I think what we're creating is something that's devastating to our nation and to our neighborhoods and individuals.
Last question comes from Mark Weiermiller, City Club member. Mr. Chairman, how can we bring Republican factions together, such as libertarians, Tea Partiers, pro-life Republicans? How can we get these factions together to elect Bruce Rauner governor?
Well, that's a good question, Mark. Very good question. As I said in many of the speeches I give, this is a big tent party. We want everybody under that tent. We want libertarians, we want Tea Partiers, we want left, right, middle, centrist Republicans, and we want Democrats and independents, because the message we're delivering is a concise, consistent message. Lower taxes, less wasteful spending, a booming economy, term limits, and a quality education for our kids. That's what we stand for. And if you believe in those things, you're welcome under our tent, because that's what we stand for. So that's a message we deliver. We believe it's a message that goes out to all Republicans, wherever you're at in the spectrum, and that we'll gather them together, and they will vote for Bruce and Republicans up and down the ticket in November.
Terrific.